My attorney spread the photographs across his desk. 23 images documenting 14 separate incidents of me stalking my ex-wife across Phoenix, Denver, and Portland over 5 months. Impossible. I'm on dialysis 3 times a week in Cleveland. Fingerprint scans logged my presence to the second. I studied the man in the photos. Same height, same build, same coloring. Then I saw his wrist, a Rolex Submariner. $15,000. I've never owned a watch worth more than 40. Before the story continues, tap subscribe and tell me what time it is where you are. Thank you for being part of this. My name is Wayne Prescott. I'm 54 years old, and I spent my career making numbers tell the truth. 22 years at Midwest Insurance Group taught me one truth: the money always leaves a trail. I traced embezzlers through 17 shell companies across 4 countries. Built cases that put white-collar criminals in prison. My colleagues called me patient. My supervisors called me obsessive. I called it the job. Diane and I married in 2009. She was teaching 2nd grade then, and I was just starting to make a name for myself in forensic accounting. Kyle came 2 years later, Brenda 18 months after that. We bought a house in Shaker Heights with a backyard big enough for a swing set. 3 years ago, my kidneys started failing. Chronic stress, the doctor said. Decades of 100-hour weeks catching up with me. Now I sit in a chair at Cleveland Kidney Care Center 3 times a week while a Fresenius machine cleans my blood. 4 hours and 12 minutes each session. Fingerprint scan in, fingerprint scan out. The system logs everything to the second. Patricia Kowalski, one of the nurses, always asks about my watch projects. Diane filed for divorce 8 months into my treatment. I didn't sign up to be a nurse, she said. Her voice was tired, not cruel. Just honest. I didn't argue, didn't beg, signed the papers, and moved to a 2-bedroom apartment in Lakewood. Took early retirement on my pension. Started restoring vintage watches at the kitchen table. Timex, Seiko, nothing worth more than $40. Kyle calls every Sunday. Brenda visits when her wedding planning schedule allows. We don't talk about their mother much. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, Diane started dating Marshall Vickers, commercial real estate developer. Expensive suits, cold blue eyes that never warmed even when he smiled. I met him once, briefly, when picking up some boxes Diane had forgotten to send. He shook my hand with practiced charm and watched me leave with something like satisfaction. I didn't think much of it then. I should have. Kyle's voice came through the phone, sharp with anger. I set down the watch movement I'd been cleaning. He's been poisoning her against you for months, Dad, telling her you have an obsessive personality, that your health decline masks darker instabilities. Marshall said this? Brenda heard him at dinner last week. Told Mom you were dangerous. I walked to the window. Great Cleveland morning, rain streaking the glass. What else? Kyle hesitated. The stalking photos started showing up right after he proposed. I closed my eyes. Of course they did. Brenda called that evening. She works part-time at a real estate firm downtown. Here's things. Her voice was reluctant but worried. Marshall's been married twice before, she said quietly. Both times he came out wealthier than he went in. I asked around. He met Mom at the Hartwell Foundation Gala. You know, where Grandma's family donates. The Hartwell money. Old Cleveland wealth built on steel manufacturing, diversified into real estate and banking. Diane's inheritance alone was worth more than everything I'd earned in 22 years. The photos, I said. Where were they taken? Phoenix. Her gym near Aunt Carol's place. Denver, outside her friend Margaret's office. And Portland, that hotel where she went for the teachers' conference. 3 cities spanning the western United States, each one 2,000 miles from Cleveland. I pulled up my dialysis schedule on my laptop. Cross-referenced the dates Brenda mentioned. 12 of the 14 alleged incidents occurred while I was connected to a machine in Ohio. Marshall Vickers wasn't just marrying my ex-wife. He was eliminating the one person who might investigate his finances before the wedding. A forensic accountant ex-husband is an inconvenient variable. Courtroom 14B smelled like old wood and industrial cleaner. I sat alone at the defense table while Judge Morrison reviewed the photographs. Meredith Cole, Diane's attorney, approached the bench. Your Honor, these 23 photographs document 14 separate incidents demonstrating a clear pattern of harassment. My client lives in terror. Diane took the stand. Her hands trembled as she described seeing my face outside her gym, her friend's office, a hotel lobby 2,000 miles from Cleveland. Her voice cracked on my name. Whatever Marshall had told her, she believed it completely. I watched her cry and felt something hollow open in my chest. Marshall sat in the gallery, third row. His Rolex caught the fluorescent light. Cold blue eyes tracked the proceedings with quiet satisfaction. Judge Morrison spoke. Based on the evidence presented, I'm granting the temporary restraining order. Mr. Prescott is prohibited from coming within 500 feet of Mrs. Prescott, her residence, workplace, or any event she attends. Outside, reporters gathered on the courthouse steps. Diane's statement carried across the marble plaza. I just want to feel safe again. I walked to my car through a gauntlet of cameras. 22 years of integrity, reduced to tabloid headlines. Kyle and Brenda's calls went to voicemail. I couldn't face their questions yet. But sitting in the parking garage, engine idling, I thought about the Rolex. $15,400. Serial number visible in 4 of the photographs when I'd enlarged them. A specific model, specific generation. Watches don't lie, neither do purchase records. Marshall thought he'd won. He thought a sick man on dialysis would simply accept destruction. The Rolex serial number was visible in 4 photographs. $15,400. Someone bought that watch. And purchase records don't disappear. My kitchen table disappeared under corporate filings, credit card subpoenas, and photograph printouts marked with red annotations. Rachel Okonkwo sat across from me. Former federal prosecutor, Nigerian-American, Cornell law credentials, backed by a work ethic learned from immigrant parents who ran a dry cleaning business in Toledo. She'd handled the legal side of one of my embezzlement cases 6 years ago. When I called, she remembered. Someone spent real money building this frame, she said, scanning the documents. Kyle arrived with his laptop. His IT security expertise had already yielded results. All 23 photos were taken with a Canon EOS R5, $3,800 camera. Identical settings across every image, and the metadata's been edited. I handed Rachel the Rolex research. Serial number 9K47J82. Purchased March 15th at Turno, Cleveland. Let me guess, she said. Corporate credit card. I nodded. Vickers Holdings, LLC, Delaware registration. The shell company trail took 3 days. Vickers Holdings connected to Great Lakes Property Partners connected to Midwest Commercial Ventures. All 3 led back to Marshall Vickers through corporate officer filings. Monthly payments of $3,000 to Elite Talent Solutions in Cleveland's Flats District. I visited the talent agency myself. Nondescript office suite, headshots covering the walls. We hired Mr. Jankowski for a documentary reenactment project, the booking agent explained. 5 months, $15,000 total. Victor Jankowski, age 52. Similar height, build, coloring. The man wearing my face in 23 photographs. Rachel obtained my dialysis, biometric records through emergency court order. Fingerprint scans proving I was connected to a machine during 12 of the 14 alleged incidents. We have the alibi, she said. Now we need the actor. For a moment, staring at the shell company diagram on my wall, I wondered if we'd hit a dead end. Victor could deny everything. Marshall's lawyers could argue coincidence. Then Kyle found the camera purchase receipt. Same corporate card. Sane Delaware LLC. The trail was holding. Victor Jankowski's Parma apartment smelled like cold coffee and cigarettes. Headshots covered every wall. Unpaid bills covered the desk. He opened the door in a stained t-shirt, recognized me immediately, and tried to close it. Rachel's foot stopped him. We're not here to threaten you, I said. We're here to show you what Marshall Vickers planned. We spread the documents on his kitchen counter. Shell company payments. The Rolex purchase receipt. 3 other cases where Marshall had made inconvenient people disappear. Victor's face went pale. Documentary. They said it was for a documentary. Some kind of reenactment thing. There's no documentary, Rachel said. There's a federal wire fraud investigation, payments crossing state lines. And when the FBI comes knocking, who do you think Marshall's going to blame? Victor's hand shook. He told me it was legitimate. His guy said nobody would get hurt. I leaned forward. His guy? Some employee at his company. Called me with instructions, locations, timing, what to wear. Victor swallowed hard. I recorded the calls. Rachel and I exchanged looks. Ohio's a one-party consent state, she said. Victor retrieved his iPhone. The recordings were crude but clear. Location instructions, timing requirements, and one phrase that changed everything. Mr. Vickers wants the problem eliminated before the wedding. The immunity negotiation took 2 days. Victor provided everything: communications, booking records, testimony about the 5-month operation. The Rolex was in his closet. He'd been told to return it after each session, but kept it after the final shoot as insurance. Rachel filed counterclaims. The FBI Financial Crimes Unit opened a wire fraud investigation. Marshall Vickers received notice of the emergency hearing to vacate the restraining order. His practiced smile, I heard later, finally cracked. Courtroom 14B again. Same judge, same gallery. Victor Jankowski sat at the prosecution table. Marshall's expensive attorneys had withdrawn when the evidence became overwhelming. His current representation looked overwhelmed before Rachel even began. 847 pages of documentation, Your Honor. Rachel's voice carried across the courtroom. Biometric dialysis records, shell company filings, Rolex purchase receipt matching the serial number visible in Exhibit 14, and recorded conversations between the defendant's employee and the hired actor. The recordings played through the courtroom speakers. Clear instructions, specific locations. Mr. Vickers wants the problem eliminated before the wedding. Dr. Anita Sharma took the stand, explained that disconnecting mid-dialysis would cause immediate medical crisis. Kyle demonstrated the photograph metadata manipulation, showing identical camera settings across images allegedly taken months apart in different cities. Marshall's composure cracked during Kyle's testimony. By the time Victor described his instructions, it collapsed. You can't. This is... He stood, pointing at Victor. He's lying. He's a paid liar. That's what actors do. Mr. Vickers, Judge Morrison's voice cut like ice. Sit down. I will not sit down while these people... Bailiff. The contempt charges came quickly. Judge Morrison vacated the restraining order before lunch. Federal indictment followed within the week. 12 counts, conspiracy, wire fraud, witness tampering. Marshall's business partners fled. His real estate empire crumbled as deals collapsed and investigations multiplied. Diane called Rachel's office the day before the formal charges were announced. I believed him, she said quietly. I believed everything he told me. She withdrew her lawsuit, refused Marshall's calls. The Hartwell family wealth he'd coveted disappeared with her. Marshall Vickers faced 15 years federal prison. His $50,000 mammoth ivory chess set would be seized as asset forfeiture. If you're rooting for me, please like and give my revenge a score from 1 to 10. Thank you for listening. 6 months later, my kitchen table held watch parts again. The evidence files were gone, archived at Rachel's office for Marshall's upcoming trial. Former business partners had lined up to testify about past intimidation. The prosecution's case grew stronger every week. Kyle visited on Sundays now. Brenda brought her fiancé last month, a quiet accountant she'd met at a client's wedding. We talked about normal things: work, weather, the Indians' playoff chances. Diane sent a letter, not reconciliation, just acknowledgement. I should have known you better, she wrote. After 15 years, I should have known. I didn't respond. Some things don't need words. Rachel's practice gained national attention. She consulted on frame-up defense cases across the country now. Victor Jankowski, immunity secured, returned to community theater. Last I heard, he was playing Willie Loman in a Parma production of Death of a Salesman. The dialysis nurses threw me a party when the charges dropped. Patricia Kowalski baked a cake shaped like a Timex watch. For the man who always keeps time, the frosting read. I finished restoring a 1967 Seiko yesterday. 40 years old, still keeping perfect time. No batteries, no circuits. just gears and springs doing what they're designed to do. I set the Seiko in my display case, between a restored Timex Marlin and my grandfather's pocket watch. $40 treasures, all of them. The money always leaves a trail. You just have to be patient enough to follow it.